Hi everyone, this is going to be a teaching style video for cranial vault foramen as well as some combination features and bony landmarks. Okay, we're going to start off by going over the cranial vault foramen. This can be a little bit tricky, but we're going to go through it together. Okay, one of the ways that we can remember our foramen is this mnemonic. We have ROSL and then IJH. If anyone has seen the TV show Friends, one of the 6 main characters, Ross, we're going to use his name to remember this. And in the show, Ross was a loser in junior high. That's how we can remember these. So we get the Ross from the first ROS, I have it underlined in here. And then was a loser, we have the L. And then in junior high for IJH. Okay. And they follow a pattern where we can see the first 4 together and then these last 3 in a similar region. Okay. The first 4 we're going to go over start with the word foramen. We have foramen rotundum, foramen ovale, foramen spinosum, and foramen lacerum. Okay. And I have a picture right here. We're going to go over them together, but this is how my skull would be oriented, okay? And I'm gonna zoom in and zoom out, and this guy can be a good reference for you if you're having a hard time seeing on my model. But I'm gonna be using this black pipe cleaner to help point out the different foramen, okay? So first, let's find our foramen rotundum. Orient you on the skull, okay? If we look in here, okay, kind of on an angle, we can find this indent, okay, right in here. This little indent right here is foramen rotundum. So right here, foramen rotundum. So to orient you one more time, look at the front of the skull, and if we look at it in kind of an angle right here, foramen rotundum's right here. My computer decided to fall asleep on me. So let me pull that back up again. Okay. All right. Next we have foramen ovale. So to orient you again, we have foramen rotundum. Our next one is ovale. I'm going to push the pipe cleaner through here. And my pipe cleaner is through ovale. So it's this guy right here. Side. So you have rotundum, ovale, and my pipe cleaner is through ovale. Okay. All right, next we have spinosum. So I'll orient you again on the skull. Okay. We had foramen rotundum right here, foramen ovale right here, and then spinosum is this little guy right behind our ovale right here, okay? And on this guy here, we can see that spinosum's almost just like a little dot. So we had our rotundum, ovale, spinosum right here, okay? So our next one is foramen lacerum. So I'm just gonna orient you. Our foramen lacerum is this guy right here. So in here, on the side, that's foramen lacerum. All right, 4 down, 3 to go. Our next 3, we have our internal auditory meatus, which I have labeled here as internal. We have our jugular foramen, which I have labeled as jugular, and then the hypoglossal canal, which I have just labeled as hypoglossal. Okay. To find our internal auditory meatus, I find it easier to first find our external auditory meatus here. If we go directly inside the skull from where our external auditory meatus is, we find, I'm going to bend this so it's easier to see, this guy right here. Maybe I'll just hold it. This guy right here, okay? So to orient you, this guy right here is our internal auditory meatus, so right here. And on this side, it's right here. This guy right here, okay? Next, our jugular foramen. Our jugular vein is a pretty large vein that passes through here. Therefore, this is going to be a pretty large foramen, so I'm going to orient you. Our jugular foramen is this guy right here. Awesome. Last one, we have the hypoglossal canal. This one can be tricky to find, okay? We're gonna look inside the lip of the foramen magnum, and right where my thumb is where the hypoglossal canal is. So this guy right in here. So you look inside the lip of the foramen magnum, and you can find the hypoglossal canal. So once again, to review, internal auditory meatus, okay? We have, I'll put the pipe cleaner backwards through here so you can see where it is. Jugular foramen, and then we have the hypoglossal canal right here, okay? So that is our foramen. Now let's do some of our combination features. All right, I have a model here to show these features, and the colors correspond to what I'm talking to, okay? So first we have the zygomatic arch, which is this guy right here. The zygomatic arch is made up of two processes. One of them belongs to the zygomatic bone, and one belongs to the temporal bone, okay? To orient you here. ZP here is the zygomatic process of the temporal bone, and TP here is the temporal process of the zygomatic bone. And then those two combine together to make up the zygomatic arch. All right, next we have the nasal septum. The nasal septum is made up of the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone and the vomer bone. If we look inside the nasal cavity right here, we can see this P paper clipped to the perpendicular plate. And if we look in the back here, we have a V taped onto the vomer. Those two make up the nasal septum. Next, we have our hard palate. Our hard palate is made up of the palatine processes of the maxilla and the palatine bones, okay? If we look under here, okay, we can see, and you can feel this too, if you feel up on the roof of your mouth, you're feeling your hard palate, okay? The palatine processes of the maxilla are these green tags, and the palatine bones are these more rectangular shaped bones, and those are the red tags, and those make up the hard palate. Lastly, we have 7 bones that make up the orbit. This is going to be our blue tape. We have our frontal bone, okay? We have our zygomatic bone right here. We have our maxilla right here. Our lacrimal bone here. We have the ethmoid bone, the sphenoid bone, and the palatine bone. Okay. All right, so 7 bones that make up the orbit are the frontal bone, zygomatic bone, maxilla, lacrimal, ethmoid, sphenoid, and palatine. I hope this was helpful.